Hi, how are you all doing today? Today I decided I'm gonna do something different today. I am going to do something that I did in a written form last year that I will now do this year in a PowerPoint presentation. It is 30 bold predictions for the 2024 Major League Baseball season by me. Now, you might be asking, why am I doing this? Well, it's because I wanted to. That's it. Now, what makes me qualified to do this? Well, I have 25 years of life experience with 13 years of public education. I'd say that, makes me more than to talk about things that happen in real life. I subscribe to Major League Baseball television. That is $100 and something out of my pocket every year. I know what this means. It means LPS plus. But to balance it out and make me a bit more, partial, I did not know who Max Scherzer was until October of 2019. And to make me even more impartial, I have never predicted anything successfully in my entire life. Not whether it was going to rain, shine, not how long it'll take me to get home from point A, not even predicting what I'm gonna have for lunch. So, yeah, let's get on with it. Starting with the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, gonna give a few pointers before I reveal each prediction. That way, you know what I'm talking about. Also, I should probably mention it's one for every team. Now, Toronto Blue Jays, like most teams, they usually have two catchers. Blue Jays case, it's Alejandro Kirk and Danny Jansen. But right now, Danny Jansen is hurt, so they're relying on their third string catcher, Brian Serven. And my prediction is as follows. Brian Serven has more Major League plate appearances than Danny Jansen this year. And, yeah. I probably should have written some notes down for each of these. Danny Jansen, he's been hurt a bit over the last few seasons. And, basically what I'm saying is that they're going to have to rely on Brian Serven, who cannot hit a barn door, even though he's a hitter. Anyway, next up, the Orioles. Now, the Orioles are pretty much known for their great player development. And 2 years ago in the draft, they surprised everybody by picking Jackson Holliday first overall. And he is currently the top prospect in the league. And, hold on. And he is not starting the year in the majors because Mike Elias, the general manager of the Orioles, decided maybe he's not quite ready for opening day. Probably needs a bit of time in AAA to just, ferment, But yeah, he is truly great, and my prediction is that he does not finish top 3 in the Rookie of the Year voting. Now, I should say that these are bold predictions. These are not things that I think will happen. But, hey, he had something like, a 35% strikeout rate this spring training? That translates to the majors, then I don't know if he could. I mean, last year, Gunnar Henderson, also of the Orioles, also struck out a bit too much, and he won Rookie of the Year. Hey, it's a bold prediction. Probably won't happen. He'll probably win. What do I know? I mean, thinking about it now, Wyatt Langford is probably going to win. Maybe Evan Carter. There's a lot of good rookies this year. We'll see. Now the Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays. They are known for their great pitching development. They basically have a never-ending supply of great pitchers, or even mediocre pitchers, that they turn great, that all pitch 110 innings per season. And they have just mopped the floor with the league for the last few years in terms of pitching. This is why my bold prediction is that they will not finish the season with a top 5 team ERA. They've lost a few pitchers to trades and free agency. Most notably, their ace, Tyler Glasnow. Shane McClanahan, I don't know if he's still going to be injured to start the season. That would be a blow if that happens. Again, not hoping that'll happen, but it might. It's not even 50-50. Now, the Red Sox, they signed a deal with Netflix to create a 8-part series about their season, you know, kind of like what the NFL has. And my prediction is simply that the Red Sox Netflix series will have a Rotten Tomatoes score under 50%. Nobody wants to see it. The Red Sox are a fun, young team, but hey, it's the first time they're trying this. It might not do that good. Might not, the kinks worked out for the first season. Critics might be like, yeah, this is a bit unpolished. Just like this video, right now. Next up is the, whoops, that's the wrong tab. New York Yankees. My hometown team. Now, Yankees, did not do that great that last year. Their last 100 games of the 2023 season, I think they went 46 and 64. No, 46 and 54, which is not good. And the next part of this is that Baseball Reference's projections for the postseason are not actually based on any sort of fact. It just takes into account the team's last 100 games and the players' last 100 games, and tries to, you know, mash everything together into a balanced, cohesive, every team has an equal number of games played. And it has not really projected that well. It's not a great projection. It's held up with popsicle sticks and glue, I think I said. And that is especially relevant to the Yankees, because the Yankees are projected by Fangraphs, at least, to have a really, really good team. But Baseball Reference, of course, with their projection, is not like them. And so my bold prediction is that the Yankees will end the season within 5 games of Baseball Reference's projections, which means that they will lose somewhere between 85 and 95 games. I don't want to see it. I'm sure 90% of baseball fans want to see it. I don't think it will happen, but hey, it's a bold prediction. It's not necessarily supposed to happen. Moving on to the American League Central, we have the Cleveland Guardians. Now, the Cleveland Guardians, they have their star player, Jose Ramirez. He is great. Everybody thinks he's underrated, but hey, the fact that everybody thinks he's underrated means that he is properly rated. He is one of the best players in the league. But there is one thing he has not done. He's never won the American League MVP. As you can see, he has finished the second once, third twice, fourth once. There's also a sixth place, and last year he finished 10th. And there is a called career shares, which means basically they take these percentages and they try to calculate what is the equivalent number of MVPs that he has won. And he has as a percentage, how many equivalent unanimous MVPs has he won over his career. And that equals that to 2.64, which is more than some people that have won 3 times. So he's probably due, Shohei Ohtani, in a different league right now. So hey, it could happen. Now, onto the Royals. They are not a good team. They have not been a good team since they won the World Series back in 2018. But they did trade for someone last year at the deadline named Cole Reagans. Technically, they sold at the deadline for him, who was great for them down the stretch. It didn't matter. They lost over 100 games. But this prediction is about him. I think he will stay really good and finish between 5th and 10th in the AL Cy Young vote. Now, this doesn't mean that he's going to be the greatest pitcher in the American League. He'll probably be the best pitcher in the American League Central, though not a great division to be the best in. So, yeah, this is me predicting that he will be pretty much as good as he was with the Royals last year. Now, on to the Tigers. A few years ago, the Tigers signed 2016 World Series hero Javier Baez to a 6-year, $160-something million contract, and he has not been very good. In fact, one might say that he has been awful. So this year, I think, will qualify with a WRC plus weighted runs created plus over 90. Plus means that 100 is average. Runs created means that we're dealing with weighted on base average. Now there's a few graphs that I put in here for I don't remember why. It's just showing his decline. You can see here that his WRC plus last year was in the 60s. It's pretty much been a downward slide since he signed with Detroit. It's not great in 2020 either, but that's a flip of a season. Who cares? And it's pretty much gone with his BABIP, even though he hit the ball harder last year. Even though he hit the ball harder last year, his home run per fly ball rate went down, which means he's been popping the ball up more. It's all based on decline, but hey, I think BABIP is gonna maybe go up a bit, and WRC plus goes up with BABIP usually. Anyway, on to the next game. The Twins. Now the Twins, they have a center fielder named Byron Buxton. He is made of glass bones and paper skin, to put it bluntly. He did not play center field at all last year. He barely... I don't even think he cracked 80 games last year. Yeah, he played 85 games last year. He has not played more than 100 since 2017 when he was 23 years old. He is entering his age 30 season. And my prediction is simply Byron Buxton starts at least 75 games in center field. So, hey, Could happen. Could not happen. Last year I predicted that he would play between 100 and 125 games. That didn't happen. Hopefully he proves me wrong this year. He was just playing DH last year. He couldn't even break 100. Imagine what happens if he's playing in such a demanding position as center field. Anyway, on to the White Sox. They're not going to be good. Nobody thinks they're going to be even halfway decent. They're probably going to lose at least 105 games. But they have a pitcher named Dylan Cease. Or at least I should say they had a pitcher named Dylan Cease. Because, well, they shipped him off to San Diego for spare parts days ago. And in that wake, they named opening day starter Garrett Crochet, who has not started a major league game since college, maybe even high school. He has been a pure reliever ever since he was college, and they brought him up like the same year he was drafted because it was 2020. He didn't even play in the minor leagues. Anyway, what I'm saying is that Garrett Crochet ends the season with a higher F-WAR than Dylan Cease. Now, I said F-WAR. F-WAR is based on FIP. FIP is strikeouts, walks, and home runs. Dylan Cease walks a lot of batters. He doesn't give up many home runs, though. And he strikes out a lot of batters. So, I am predicting that going from old Chicago to sunny San Diego, he's probably going to give up a few more home runs. Ball is going to travel a bit further. Maybe this is more about Dylan Cease being bad than Garrett Crochet being good. Because I'm pretty sure Garrett Crochet is not going to be good as a starter. Anyway, on a happier tone, the Angels. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that the Angels have Mike Trout. He used to have another guy, but that's something to talk about later on. Now, Mike Trout is probably the best player of the last 20 years. Or at least the best player to debut in the last 20 years. But recently he's been having a bit of injury trouble ever since 2020. He's been missing a lot of games. His production's been down a bit. What I am saying is that Mike Trout wins the Silver Slugger Award. Now, he plays center field. Center field in the American League is going to be a bloodbath. There are a lot of good center fielders in the American League right now that can really hit. So, hey, if he wins another Silver Slugger, might be his last, but he is going to be really good this year if he wins the Silver Slugger. Of course. What am I saying? That alarm really threw me off. Anyway, the Astros. Team everybody loves to hate, except for people in Houston. Now, the Astros, they have been great. They have been great for the last 6-7 years. Ever since winning fixed everything. They have made the American League Championship Series, I don't know, 6-7 years in a row. They've won the World Series twice in that time. What I'm predicting is that not only do they not make the American League Championship Series, they will lose the American League Division Series in 4 games or fewer. And that is a best-of-5 series. So I'm saying they lose 3-1 or they get swept. Now, keep saying I don't want this to happen, to all of the negative stuff in this, but hey, if it happens, it happens. And I don't want this stuff to happen really plays into the next one, the Athletics. Now, the Athletics have a shit owner. His name is John Fisher. He's tanking the team in order to move to Las Vegas. Everyone hates it, except for Rob Manfred. And, hey, some people might hate it a lot more than the normal person. I'm gonna get dark. John Fisher is assassinated. Not killed. This is a word that implies intent, implies planning, and it implies in a way that delivers a message. Now, I am not wishing for his death. I am just saying someone might do it. Someone a lot more unhinged than the normal person. Moving on, Seattle Mariners. Now, Seattle Mariners, they have a guy named Julio Rodriguez. He's great. He can hit a lot of home runs. He can steal a lot of bases. He's really good. Now, there's also another guy named Ronald Acuna Jr. He won the National League MVP last year for hitting a lot of home runs and stealing a lot of bases. That's pretty much why he won. Now, what I am predicting is that not that Julio Rodriguez hits more home runs and steals more bases than Ronald Acuna Jr., saying he hits more home runs or steals more bases than Ronald Acuna Jr. Not both. But not both is important because it rules out any sort of early season, mid-season injury to Ronald Acuna Jr. that makes him miss the rest of the season. Now, I'm saying that Julio Rodriguez does this on his own accord. He hits more home runs or steals more bases than Ronald Acuna Jr. Just to put in perspective, Ronald Acuna Jr. hit, I think, 41 home runs last year and stole 70 bases. So that's a bit of a hill to climb. Hey, could happen. The Rangers. The Rangers won the World Series last year, surprising a lot of people, considering they had lost a bunch of games the year prior. And they did it because they signed a bunch of really good but really fragile pitchers, such as Jacob deGrom. Now, Jacob deGrom, he underwent Tommy John surgery last season. He could be back sometime after the All-Star break. The odds are that he misses the entire season, but hey, this is his second Tommy John surgery. He has missed large swaths of seasons before. And I predict, well, that he returns from the injured list, pitches at least one inning this year, and then returns to the injured list again. Just to prove that he is the injured king. Last year I predicted that the 5 pitchers they signed that offseason would pitch less than 500 innings combined, and they did not make 500 innings. I'm being a bit more generous to them. Just saying, Jacob deGrom, all you have to do is pitch at least once. Match Corey Kluber with the Rangers. Anyway, on to the team that's probably going to win the World Series, the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are great. The Atlanta Braves can do everything. They have a stacked lineup. So stacked that they've taken to taking on other teams' bad contracts rather than actually sign any more players. Now, they did this year by going to Seattle and being like, hey, we'll take your bad contracts for Marco Gonzalez and Evan White off your hands, just as long as you send us over former prospect darling Jared Kelenic. Jared Kelenic has not been great. He was pretty good for like a stretch last year. Then he fell back to earth. Then he slammed his fist into a wall in frustration and lost a bunch of time with a broken hand. He came back. He was not great. He was his old self. And this spring training, he has been absolutely terrible. So, what I am predicting this season is that Jared Kelenic is designated for assignment. Basically, they took on those contracts for nothing. They got a sub-replacement player that they sent through waivers. They took him off the 40-man. Probably bring Forrest Wall up. He'll probably do amazing. That will be the end of Jared Kelenic as we know it, as a Brave at least. Pirates might want him. The Athletics might want him. Who knows? Next up is the Miami Marlins. Now, the Miami Marlins, as people might know, they don't draw the big crowds, usually because the Marlins stink, and they play in Miami in the middle of the summer in a giant dome. Now, this off-season, they hosted the Caribbean Series, which is a series of games with teams from all over Latin America. Now, those games drew some of the biggest crowds in Lone Depot Park history. And a lot of that is part of the atmosphere. Like, everybody chanting, everybody being like, go team, go my home country, go my ancestral country. And so the Marlins decided they were going to let people bring instruments into the park this year. Now, what I am saying is that Lone Depot Park will reverse its decision to allow instruments in the park mid-season. Probably because some ass with a trumpet decides to start blaring out to distract the players. But Marlins management, hey, they could see that what am I trying to say? They could see that hey, maybe it was a bad idea to let people bring brass instruments into a ballpark, and it just completely reverse course, and then nobody goes to Marlins games ever again. The end. Now on to the team I go to see the most. The Mets. It's all about the Mets, baby. Let's hear it for the Mets. Now, the Mets have a player named Edwin Diaz, their star closer, who was out all last season with a tear his Achilles or something, break his ankle, something like that. He landed weird on his ankle and just did not pitch the entire season. Now, he is probably one of the best closers in the league. And another thing about closers, they don't usually get Cy Young votes. I think the last closer to get top 5 in Cy Young voting was Zach Britton, like 10 years ago. Now, what I'm saying is that Edwin Diaz is so dominant that he finishes top 5 in National League Cy Young voting. Hey, it could be a stretch. I predicted last year pretty much the same thing with Emmanuel Clase. He wasn't that good. He might have gotten some downvote Cy Young votes. No, he didn't. Didn't even do that. But hey, these are bold predictions. These are meant to be bold. And speaking of a very bold prediction, I am going on to the Washington Nationals. Team that a few years ago sent all of their won the World Series and immediately signed the wrong contract. Didn't get any bump from winning the World Series in attendance because of the pandemic. Then they sold off all of their star players, even the ones with 3 years left on their contract. 3 years left on their arbitration contract, and just have not been good at all. Not in the slightest. Last year, they won 71 games. and I think they're projected to win like 65 this year, somewhere around there. And what I'm saying is that they beat the projections by a long shot and win more than 75 games. That means 76 or more games they win, which would absolutely break their projections. I don't think Nationals are 60-something games bad this year. They have a lot of fun, good players like C.J. Abrams and good pitchers like Mackenzie Gore. All it takes is being part of that 10% that does so much better than the projections. Next up is the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, last season or season before, I think it was last season, the Phillies traded for a guy named Christian Pache. Now, Christian Pache was originally a Braves prospect. Then he got traded to the Athletics for as part of a deal for, was it Matt Olson? Or was it Sean Murphy? No, it was Matt Olson, definitely. Now, in Oakland, he could not hit. He could hit nothing. And so the Athletics, a team that, by the way, lost like 100-something games that year, shipped Pache off to Phillies. Now, if you're being shipped off a team that is that bad for pennies on the dollar, that is not good. There was a joke that said something along the lines of, in order to back up Brandon Marsh, who can't hit left-handed pitching, they traded for Christian Pache, who can't hit any type of hitting. Yeah, in 2022, in 91 games, he had an OPS plus of 35. And mind you, 100 is average. With 3 home runs in those 91 games, which is just bad. Now, last year, when he was on the Phillies, he was average. They platooned him well. They weren't playing him every day. Mostly the late inning replacement defensively. But he was hurt for a lot. He did finish with a 100 OPS plus. Only 2 home runs, though. Now, this spring training, he's hit 2 home runs in 15 games. So my bold prediction is that Christian Pache hits 10 home runs. It's possible. I mean, if Martin Maldonado could hit 10 home runs last year, Christian Pache can definitely do it. Please, do it. Anyway, on to the Brewers. The Brewers, last year prior, last 3 years really, have had probably the best rotation in the National League. We had Corbin Burnes, Brandon Woodruff, and Freddie Peralta as their top 3, which is just, if you don't know, absolutely insane. But they kind of soured the relationship with Corbin Burnes a bit. Brandon Woodruff was out for pretty much the entire season last year. Freddie Peralta is the only one left because they traded Corbin Burnes to the Orioles for Joey Ortiz, a infielder, and DL Hall, a pitcher. Now, my prediction, because Corbin Burnes has kind of been declining a bit over the last few seasons, my prediction is that DL Hall finishes the season with a lower ERA than Corbin Burnes. Now, I am not saying qualified. That is a big part of this. He does not have to pitch 162 innings. Neither does Corbin Burnes. He could pitch 1 inning and give up no runs, and that would probably beat Corbin Burnes. Will that happen? Probably not. But I am thinking that Corbin Burnes maybe declines a little, and that DL Hall is a bit better than his uh, low 100s prospect pedigree. So yeah, next up is the St. Louis Cardinals. Now the Cardinals have been great for years. For like, I don't know, the last 20-something years, they have been pretty much riding at the top of the National League Central. Except for a few years, like late 2010s, when like a lot of teams in the National League Central were good. They have finished first or second almost every year since 2000. At the time Albert Pujols came into the league. Now, that's not true of last year, when they finished last, after being in first the year prior. They won 71 games, they lost 91. Now, that was probably because that was their first season in a long time without Yadier Molina. Their pitching kind of faltered mightily because of that. Most runs they gave up in a season since 1999. Even a lot of those years in 2010s when they juiced the ball, they did not give up as many runs. But they fixed the pitching a bit. They signed some new pitchers, something they don't usually do. Now, I am not talking about the runs they allow, I am talking about the runs they score. Because they've gotten rid of a few of their good run contributors, but a lot of the run contributors from last year didn't do so great last year. I am saying that in a roundabout way. The Cardinals score fewer runs than they did in 2023. Which was 719, kind of average, but win more games than they did in 2011. At 90 games. They have done this before. They have won 90 games with fewer than 700 runs. But those were in years that were kind of the dead ball years, like 2021. Or 2015. Now, can they do it this year? Who knows? That's the point of this. Who knows? On to the Cubs. Now, the Cubs last year, they had a lot of trouble with their first baseman. They were going through bad first baseman like it was nothing. And so this year, I'm saying that the Cubs finished first in the league in first baseman F4. Now, last year, they finished with 0 F4 first base. They were completely a replacement level on first base side. Now, they've gotten rid of some of those guys who were bad at first base. They have brought back Cody Bellinger, who figures to be really good at first base. Because since they are probably gonna have Pete Crow Armstrong in the center field, Cody Bellinger is probably gonna be first baseman primarily. That'll probably bring the first base war up. Now, that is with the caveat that the National League has a lot of good first basemen. Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson. Them not having the designated hitter for a while pretty much meant that they had to have really good first basemen. So if the Cubs managed to pull it off, going from 12th place in the not the American League, the National League, up to first, beating out like Los Angeles, St. Louis, Arizona, that would just be incredible. That would mean that Cody Bellinger probably opts out of his contract and gets $300 million next season. Anyway, on to the Pirates. Pirates aren't good. Never been good. Last year they were alright. They started out really strong, and fell back down to earth as the season went on, but hey, those first few weeks really gave them hope. They finished with 76 wins. That doesn't sound good, but that's the most they've had since 2018. They have not been a good team. They don't have very good players. They have some players that might break out, but they don't usually have very good players. But part of that could be because last year O'Neal Cruz broke his leg like right at the start of the season. Hey, O'Neal Cruz is back. So my prediction is the Pirates finish with more wins than they did last year, 76, but still end below 500, which is 81 wins. Now, winning between 77 and 80 games, that's pretty much an impossible thread to, well, hold a thread, something, needle to thread, something about that. But teams have finished between those win totals before. I could do it now. So next up, Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds have this guy named Elly De La Cruz. He's a lot like O'Neal Cruz. He's freakishly tall. He's very fast. He is a shortstop, and he strikes out a lot. He strikes out way too much. Like 35% of the time, which is not good. Now, my prediction is that Elly De La Cruz qualifies with a strikeout percentage below 30. Now, qualifies is important here because it means he just can't appear in one game and then break his arm and lose the entire rest of the season. He has to actually get 500 something plate appearances. Now, I put together a bit of a graph showing a rolling game average, which means basically this, for each one of these stops, that means how much they've struck out, what their WRC plus was, and how many fastballs they've seen in their last 20 games. As you can see, he was really good at the start of the season because he was seeing a lot of fastballs. Now, the rest of the league, after a while, realized, hey, he's hitting a lot of fastballs. Let's stop throwing him fastballs. And thus his strikeout percentage went up. His WRC plus plummeted below 50 for a while, at least over the last 20 games. And then they started throwing him more fastballs, but he started striking out a lot more as they started throwing him more fastballs. It's a weird conundrum, because he also got better at hitting while he was striking out. He's really a guy that does really good when he's striking out, so it's really a tough tightrope walk to not strike out as much and also be good enough to be in the majors. Anyway, next up is the Diamondbacks. Now, a few years ago, there was a huge kerfuffle between current Diamondback Jock Peterson and at the time Diamondback Tommy Pham. where Tommy Pham struck Jock Peterson in an altercation about fantasy football. Now, Tommy Pham is a real hothead, so I would be surprised if Jock Peterson and Tommy Pham shake hands and reconcile with reporters present. Tommy Pham, not being a person who is very humble, probably would not do this because he is less than humble. Oh yeah, I forgot I put this in here. A little image of the event. Now, as you can clearly see from this very clear image, this is Tommy Pham, and right here he is slapping Jock Peterson over the face. Plain as day. Everybody saw it. It was news for a few days. Mike Trout was involved. It was weird. Now, next up is the Dodgers. Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know that Mr. Shohei Ohtani, their big $700 million man, mostly deferred, is in a bit of hot water because his interpreter was stealing money from him, supposedly, over a gambling addiction. Now, Shohei Ohtani probably gonna get out of this with his hands clean, but in case he doesn't, because, well, gambling on sports is illegal in the state of California. Shohei Ohtani's ordered to pay a fine equal to or greater than his yearly salary of $2 million. Now, he makes a lot more than $2 million if you factor in his sponsorship deals, but I'm pretty sure the state of California knows exactly how much money he makes in a year. So, if he does get fined, it would probably be more than $2 million. Now, on to the Giants. Now, you might not know this, but the Giants have not had any players hit more than 30 home runs since Barry Bonds back in 2000-something, probably 2007, his last season. It is a curse that has been going on for a while, and they probably want to break that curse, so they signed slugger Jorge Soler to a deal. Now, Jorge Soler is projected to hit 30 home runs exactly. The projections are just kind of like a 50% outcome. Like, that's probably the average of what he's gonna do. But what I'm predicting is that no Giant hits 30 or more home runs. Now you might be thinking, hey Jason, why are you predicting this? Why are you predicting that something that hasn't happened since 2007 still won't happen? Well, because that's not the end of my prediction. No Giant even makes it to 25 home runs. Now, I think there are... yeah, Jorge Soler is still only one projected, but they also have Matt Chapman, who is close at 23 home runs. And 25 home runs has happened in Giants uniform since then, a couple times. Most recently, Brandon Belt, 2019. They hadn't had a real slugger since then, but now they do. And it would be a real shock if they didn't. Anyway, on to the Padres on a lighter note. Now, the Padres this offseason pretty much completely revamped their starting rotation. Bunch of guys that were in rotation last season, like Blake Snell, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Nick Martinez, they've moved on to other teams. And they brought in some other guys, like Dylan Cease, aforementioned, Michael King. They brought in Randy Vasquez. Robert Suarez is probably going to be in a few games. but they've pretty much revamped their entire pitching staff. And so my prediction is that Padres finish first in the National League in starter B-WAR. Now, B-WAR is important, because B-WAR is not about FIP, it's about ERA. And ERA is something that goes up a bit in San Diego. You know, the climate and the corners are pretty shallow. A lot of home runs hit there. But hey, their their ERA was really good last year. It was first in the league. Let's see if they can do it again this year. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. Who knows? And now on to our final team, the lowly Colorado Rockies. Now, originally, I was going to be like, oh, my prediction is that everybody has a fun time. Because, well, the Rockies are going to lose. Probably over 105 games. Last year was the first time they lost over 100 games in their entire 30-year history. They lost 103 games last year. And they have not done anything pretty much to make that better. In fact, I would posit that they made their team worse. There's some guys that are produced a lot, like Brent Suter, are just not on the team anymore. And they have brought in, I don't know, absolutely no one. That they signed Jacob Stallings and traded for Jake Cave, traded for Cal Quantrill, and signed Dakota Hudson. And they claimed Jalen Beeks off of waivers. Got a Rule 5 guy. That's it. No marquee stuff. All of their starters are projected to be not good. They are bottom of the projections in almost every single position. They can't pitch because they play in Coors Field, which is not good. They have a 0.1% chance to make the playoffs. Every other team in the National League Central has at least a 43% chance. And most of that is because of their owner, Dick Monfort. He has about 3 brain cells, and they're all focused on the meatpacking industry. He is not a good owner. He does not know what being a good owner entails. So, he is the subject of my final prediction. Dick Monfort explores selling the team, and then changes his mind within a month. Probably because he realizes, hey, people still come to Coors Field, even if our team is doing terribly, because we have a kick-ass beer garden that overlooks the Rocky Mountains. It's great. And, well, he sent this from his iPad. If you've never seen any of his emails, all of them end with "sent from my iPad." But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Now, will these predictions happen? No. Almost definitely not. Should they happen? Mostly also no. But I will be coming back to this at the end of the season to see how I did. So yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Bye.